Hey there guys, remember me? I'm an artist. And where's my calligrapher paper doll? Where did he or she go? I forget. Anyway, I'm not talking about the calligrapher, I'm talking about the artist. I'm talking about you. You. Right there. I'm right here, and I'm talking about you. And what I've done is I have created pens for the artists, and these are for the starving artists. How do I make this a starving artist? There we go. See, he's really starving. There we go. Starving artist. And what I'm going to do is try to put together pens that I can sell as inexpensively as possible, but that will have gold nibs, 14 karat gold nibs, that you cannot buy today on any pen, no matter how much it costs new, because modern pens, as you all remember, don't work as well as the old ones, is in my humble opinion. And my humble opinion in this case is 99% correct. So what I'm going to do is, what I've found are pen barrels and caps. You know, everything about the pen is plain and simple and will work perfectly fine. It may just look a little bit dingy, or in this case it might be, in these cases, let's say these three cases, these were made by the Wherever Pen Company. Now, pen collectors watching this video will be choking on their coffee, because the Wherever Pen Company was considered a lesser, third tier company, because most of the time they made pens that they fitted with steel nibs, which would rust and corrode, and you'd throw them away, and you'd throw the whole pen away. But when you put a good nib into the lesser barrel and cap and everything, you have a great pen, a good pen. I mean, it's not a great pen, but it's a good pen. The working part of the pen, the part that you want, will be great. And you might, if you're walking down the street and you meet a sophisticated pen collector, they may laugh at you, but you know better than they do that you're getting a pen that you can do beautiful drawings with. Now, I can't sell any pen that has a gold nib for really less than $30. And I probably will charge sort of $40 for these pens, and maybe even more, all based on the nib. You can buy nibs on eBay, and that's not going to help you much because you don't have a pen to put them in. And nibs on eBay cost, $30 and up. But then you're still stuck with a nib without a pen. So here you're essentially getting the pen for free, the holder part of it for free, and it will work. It will have a sack, and it will have a lever, and it will in fact work. But what you're going to get is a pen that has a nice responsive nib, and I'm going to put these in a pen that will be able to be sort of pushed around in any different direction, which is what I like to provide to artists, where they don't have to be as careful about the tool because they're in their artistic fervor of creation, and I don't want them to think, oh my god, now I have to you know, lift up on the pen to go this way. I want to be able to, you know, if you're drawing something and you go that way, I want you not to break the pen or tear the paper. So the points are going to be robust, and they're going to be quite, I'll try to make them as flexible as I can and provide you with really a good pen to start your relationship, we'll call it that, relationship with gold nibs, because I think once you try gold, it's going to be hard for you to go back to steel nibs, because gold nibs have this flexibility. There's a couple of pens where I'm sitting on the fence between whether I want to supply them to an artist or whether I want to supply them to a calligrapher. And this is a good example. This is another pen that, it's a Waterman pen that is damaged. It has this little end that has decayed. When these pens were made, they had clear, transparent ends, which for some reason the Waterman people thought was a good design. Even when it was perfect, it was sort of stupid. I don't quite understand why they did that, because the only time you'd ever really notice it was if it's in your pocket. You wouldn't see it because this part is hidden, and when you use it you wouldn't see it because it's hidden. So why they bothered to go through all of this trouble to make something that you didn't even see is beyond my comprehension. So it's like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that you don't normally see, and I was thinking of like a garter on women's stockings, but you know, that has a whole sexual connotation that I don't want to go to. But you don't normally see a garter, but when you do see one, it's pretty neat, I guess, or so I've been told. Anyway, so this pen has no particular value to a collector because of this trauma to it, and this is 9 times out of 10 when you see a pen that was made by the Waterman Pen Company that had one of these transparent things, it's missing, it's decayed to this sort of crumbly bit, and but again, you don't notice that it's broken because it's either in your pocket or you have the cap on the end. So anyway, here I'm just wanted to explain, here's a pen nib that's fitted into this pen that is, it's on the fence. This is a pen that could make either a calligrapher or a artist happy, because it has this really interesting nib, and I might end up keeping this actually, but it's a nib that I can push in that direction, and it's a nib that has a slight italic point to it, a little slightly broad point, so it can do this sort of writing like this, you know, this sort of broad-edged writing. It's slightly flexible, and it's really, but the part that is really neat about it, it is really, really sturdy, and I feel I can really press down on it, and it's not gonna harm the pen. And if I can find my loop right here, I think this is a rigid nib. Yeah, it says rigid on it, and rigid normally means a lot more rigid than this. So this is really kind of cool. Normally when it says rigid, I don't even bother to dip it in ink, but maybe I will now. If all the rigid pens are like this, it's a great nib, great pen for drawing and for doing calligraphy of this type. It's not sharp enough on the side stroke, I think, to make a calligrapher happy, and it maybe not as flexible as a drawer might like for sketching, but it's really, really cool. It's like a Jeep. You know, when you're in a Jeep, you want to go on the bumpiest road, the dustiest and the bumpiest road. That's what this pen makes me want to it wants me to abuse it in a way that all these other pens wouldn't want. They want to go on the smooth Autobahn, you know, with no bumps or cracks, no speed bumps. They just want to, you know, travel smoothly, whereas this one wants to go off-road, go over those boulders like they show in the TV commercials for automobiles. So it's really a cool pen, and I'm not gonna sell this one right away because I may decide I want to keep it for this is a good pen that I could carry with me and hand to anyone that's a sketcher, and they're not going to break it on me. You know, I know that they're not going to, it's really almost impossible to break this nib. And, you know, a lefty could use it. You know, it's a good pen that I could hand to anyone and they would be able to say, gee, that's really cool. How come it does that? And I'll explain them. I'll be the person that initiates sketchers into using a fountain pen with this pen. So this might be a good one for me to keep to advertise fountain penning. Whereas these other pens are perfect, you know, they may have a slightly more flexible nib and more, you know, I can get more of a thing to it, more of a diversity of line, but because of, why is this is something stuck on this thing causing, there we go, now it's away. This one, because it's a little bit more flexible, and if someone really presses down really hard, they might damage the nib, but you know, even this one is a good one for show and tell, show and try. So anyway, what I'm going to try to do is come up with a bunch of really good rubbery nibs. Now the nib is what essentially you're paying for. The barrel and cap, you know, this part of it is going to be relatively free. I'm not charging for that part of it. More likely than not, the things are going to be sort of plain and black. Maybe they'll have some nicks and grooves, and this one, for example, has teeth marks from the person who owned it back in 1958. But you don't care about that. If you care about that, you can find beautiful, perfectly restored and mint condition pens in their original boxes on eBay, and you prepare to spend a couple $100. But here it's the nib and a holder, which will fill with ink, and you can carry it with you in the pocket, and it will be perfectly great. So let's do a drawing with one of these things, just to show you that they work. I'll use this one here that I was talking about. This is a gold nib that I've fitted into a wearer pen. This is one that fills with a button. I guess I have to add the button filler. It fills with a button like this. You press down on that, and that squeezes the sack on the inside of the pen. And I need to add one to this one, but I'll just dip it for now. So let's see, what will I draw with this? We're having a show about trees in my building next week. So I've got a lot of sketches I've done of trees, and trees are great to draw because they never complain that you made them look fat. You know, when you're drawing humanoids, they complain. Dogs and cats don't complain. Trees don't complain. Bowls of fruit don't complain. It's those humans, especially the fat ones that you're drawing, that complain that you made them look fat. or the skinny ones you're drawing, and they say, gee, you know, I look so skinny, can you give me some muscles? And then when you're drawing nudes, you get all sorts of different kind of requests, which I won't go into right now, but you can imagine what they might be. Trees, though, have all sorts of cool stuff going on. They have texture of bark, they've got these beautiful lines, they have foliage if you're drawing leaves, but what's really fun is not getting caught up in the leaves, because leaves are a slippery slope. If you start drawing all of the leaves, you're going to end up with a nightmare. So you have to sort of you have to pick and choose to make it look good. And there are a lot of people on YouTube that have shown how to draw trees, and they're really good at it. I'm good at drawing bark and branches, and I can, you know, show the depth and the volume of the trunk itself, but drawing the leaves befuddle me. I tend to want to draw too many of them, and then it ends up looking too dense. And to draw a tree well, I think you have to really be good at blocking out areas of light and dark. So let's say this is the shape of a tree, and let's say it's a pretty dense tree. So there's no spaces in here, it's pretty full. And what you have to do is divide things up into sort of planes of color or value. You know, the lightest planes will be more lightly drawn. The darkest planes obviously will be, the planes in shadow would be darker. So when you get this sort of, think of your tree foliage as a boulder, and then when you actually draw it with, you know, foliage, you know, you have to, you know, leave this area almost white, empty, you know, and then this area can be filled in like this, and then there's areas that have no light hitting them, or the shadows and the shade of the leaves and things above it will make it almost completely dense. And then when you do that, even if this is a solid mass of leaves and you don't see any sky or branches through it, you're still going to have this shape that works for you. And that's what I should remember this lesson. Lesson 1, commit to memory, that your tree will look good. Normally when I draw a tree, you know, it ends up looking just completely dark, and it's not right. Bad tree, bad tree. So anyway, back over here to trees, and look at this. This is I didn't fill this pen. I just dipped it in ink, and it's still writing because there's so much ink that this feed, area and nib, combination holds in the pen. So anyway, when it's filled with ink, of course, you don't have to dip it. You can just uncap it and work. So trees are great things to draw, and the fine lines you can get, broad lines you can get with a nib like this. When I draw, I just noticed, well, I didn't just notice, I've noticed this a lot. I tend to hold the pen like this, where if I were writing, I would hold it more like this. But when I'm drawing, I hold it like this, and I don't quite know why. I don't always hold it like that, but it's more comfortable for me to hold it like this with the pen sort of pointing at the 4 o'clock on the clock face. Here's our clock, 12, 6, 3, 6, 12. I tend to, when I'm drawing, I tend to have the pen sort of held in that direction. When I'm writing, I want it more like this. So the thick lines happen where I want them. But when I'm drawing, I tend to draw like this. And I can still, I still get the thick lines I want. I do move my hand around a lot more when I'm drawing than when the orientation of the pen to the paper when I'm drawing than when I'm doing calligraphy. That's another thing about the difference between pens that a calligrapher might be able to handle better than an artist, is because they are very consistent in how they hold their hand throughout the entire piece of work they're doing. They may move their hand around a little bit when they're doing a flourish on a capital letter, but almost all the time they're holding their hand is being held in the same position. And they often, they're trained as well to not use their fingers to make the letters. They're using their entire arm. So the fingers are all, this is, if I was paralyzed, if my hand were paralyzed, except for this little finger right here, and I had it paralyzed in this position, I could do calligraphy perfectly fine because I'm using my arm muscles to make these lines. When you want the pressure, you just use this little finger here to push down. Now I know there's calligraphers that are watching this that are telling me that there's all sorts of more complicated things, and I know there are, but you can write those in the comments. You can tell people where I'm wrong. But when I'm drawing, when I'm pushing the pen around to draw a tree or a face or a figure, I'm moving my hand around in all sorts of different directions. So the pen that I'm using, I want to be able to sort of also push around in all different directions. So this is a great nib for that purpose. It's for lack of a better term, an artist will abuse a pen, whereas a calligrapher will love it. Love, caress, blah, blah, blah. That's what calligraphers do. An artist abuses a tool. Now, I'm going to have artists now commenting, "How dare you say I abuse my tools?" Well, dear, live with it. What I mean by abuse is the tool is secondary to the line you want to make. I think the calligrapher and the line they make and the pen they use are more in harmony with one another, whereas the artist is the top. He's the alpha male, and he's pushing the sub-male around, and the sub-male is this. And I think that's sort of the difference between the two. They both are concerned with the line they make, obviously, but because of the standardization of the lines that a calligrapher uses in his or her work, they have the ability to use a pen that's very fragile, whereas an artist, especially if they're sketching and they're not rendering, they're sketching, they don't want to worry about the tool they're using. They don't have to be sort of in tune with it in the same way that a calligrapher is in tune with the pen nib. So that's all I'm saying. Well, I'm saying all sorts of other things, but that's what I'm trying to get at. And whether I get it across to you in my inept way, I don't know. So let's dip it again, and we'll draw another tree. So one of the trees that I've enjoyed drawing recently is a beautiful European beech tree. They're often called elephant trees as well. They have gray skin, they have gray bark, but the bark it's not like an oak tree or a willow tree or an elm tree. It has smooth bark, and it has wrinkles. Like imagine an elephant trunk having wrinkles. It has wrinkles like that. It's so they're so beautiful. And in Boston, excuse me, in Boston, in the public garden, there's a bunch of, well, not a bunch, there's maybe a dozen, I don't know, European beech trees, and they are so much fun to draw. And because of the smoothness of the bark, and then every once in a while there's a damage that was caused, trauma. There's a crack that comes down, or a limb broke off and it heals up over it. So there's trauma that happens to the bark. And then down toward the bottom of the trunk, you know, a human maybe is this big. Toward the bottom of the trunk, you have people carving their little names and their hearts and arrows through their initials and all that kind of stuff, which also adds interest to the tree. And drawing bark is just such a joy. I could draw bark forever almost, of a beech, and maybe a beech and a birch. Birches are fun because of the paper thin bark that they have that peels away, and you see different layers of it, and you know, it can be tan in color, or almost this beautiful brown color, or just blindingly white, and then there's black bits, stripes and lines that come through it, and it's such a joy to draw. It's saying, draw me, God damn it, and use a pen and ink. My cat just joined me, and he's joining us now. Kitty, move. Yeah, okay. So anyway, now that the cat's here, I may not be able to continue. I know the camera smells nice, doesn't it, Kitty? So I'll stop now, but I just wanted to say that I will post images and pens that I have especially designed for you, the artist, the sketcher, to be able to purchase from me if you'd like. And I'll do everything I can to make them as inexpensive as I possibly can for you. But you are getting a good value. You're getting a pen that will work better than any pen you can buy today, no matter how much it costs. It's manufactured today, I mean. And you're getting a pen that will work perfectly fine. You're going to get a pen that has a gold nib, and you're gonna be happy. I guarantee it. How's that? Guarantee your happiness. I want someone to guarantee my happiness. Prozac doesn't do the trick as much as I'd like it to. So, pens do it for me. Bark does it for me. My kitty does it for me when he's not in vicious mode. My cat's name is Orca, and he's aptly named. He will be purring and so happy, and then you move your hand and he'll just attack it like it's a wildebeest on the Serengeti plain. You know, I can sit here all day long, but my battery's going to run out. See, this is a great pen. If I had this pen in high school, I would maybe have gotten an A in my English class, because I would be writing the most beautiful. No, it would not have helped my English class at all. But anyway, this would have changed the way I drew. I drew with rapidograph technical pens for much of my life, and it was only a senior in college that I learned about old pens. And that's late in life. Here, if you're 12 years old right now watching this video, you can get a head start on people like me, because I'm telling you about these pens now in your youth. You don't have to go to college to learn about these pens, because I'm telling you right now. They didn't tell me about these pens in college. I just happened to be in college when I heard about them. So you, right there, you watching this, are very lucky, especially if you end up buying a pen like this. And you don't have to buy it from me. You can buy it from someone else, but you know, if you can get them really, really cheap, let me know, because I'll buy them. No, you're getting these things cheap. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you. Kitty, I'm telling you too. Thanks for watching. Bye.